make a long story short, by January 1968, my plane is landing at Tan Son Nhut Air Base in Saigon, Vietnam.
And you as a baby. Looking back, I think about when you're 19 years old.
Yeah.
That is baby status.
I was 20 by then, and I was end up landing in Tan Son Nhut Air Base, Saigon. And my whole world changed.
Welcome back to another episode of Tales from the Grip. Today I have a very special guest. I say that every time, but each time I'm have a new guest on, I'm excited to hear them. I'm excited to hear your story. You are somebody that it's going to sound funny. So when I spoke at the convention on the Friday night, I thought I did really good, right? Even though they had my audio and everything messed up. And I was like, whenever you were speaking at the Friday night convention, no lie, and I'm not just, gassing you up as people say, I was captivated the whole time. Mm-hmm. It was very intriguing. It was a great story. You have a phenomenal, background, history, a lot of things you've done. And it was very not only entertaining, but it was eye-opening a lot, and you did a great job at carrying a really good message. So
thank you.
My pleasure. So today's guest is Joe. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. So basically, just tell us a little bit about your story, like you normally do.
Okay. Well, I'm a recovering addict, mm-hmm. and my clean date is January the 23rd, 1994. So I just celebrated 29 years last month. And I was born in Detroit, and it was 4 boys. It's 2 now because 2 of my younger brothers have passed on from the horrors of addiction. Mm. I'll talk about that maybe a little later. And I had what I thought was typical, but I found out as I got older, it might not have been. But I had a mother and father, mm-hmm. and I'm grateful. And the neighborhood I grew up in, I don't remember anybody not having a mother and father. And so this whole phenomenon now with single mothers and raising kids and all that, I was blessed that not only I had a mother and father, but the whole neighborhood. So that's what I grew up seeing. And I had my father was super strict. He would lay hands on you, mm-hmm. and nobody ever thought about, well, we'll call the police. That's some new shit. Yeah. So we never heard of that. And I talked to my brother, and he said, you used to always get your ass whipped. And I thought about it, and of course I grew up with a hell of resentment with my father, mm-hmm. because of all those whippings he gave me. Mm-hmm. But in retrospect, I was wrong every time. Yeah. But in my mind, at that time, he was wrong. Yeah. And I carried that resentment with me all the way to his funeral. Mm-hmm. My father died young. He died at age 53.
What did he pass away from?
Heart attack, stroke, just sudden. Mm. So, and I was in the military at the time. Yeah. So, but anyway, growing up in Detroit, and I was an athlete. I received an athletic scholarship to the University of Detroit. I had 2 or 3 different offers to go to college, different places as a basketball player. So I had a full scholarship, 4-year, everything paid for, room, board, tuition, the whole bit at the University of Detroit. And that was significant because in 1964, they just started having blacks at these white colleges, so to speak. It wasn't too long before that. It was all HBCU. And my roommate at the time, we were the first black-white roommate in the history of the school. Now, we didn't pay any attention to it. He was an Italian boy to turn me on to pizza. I had never had pizza. He said, "You never had no pizza?" I said, "No, man." So he turned me on to pizza, and we were roommates and stayed friends all the while. In fact, he helped me get my first job out of college because he was a supervisor at Chrysler. But he was my roommate. But people made a big deal out of it. But me and him would be laughing because we had one thing in common. That was ball. And he was a hell of a basketball player. He was real good.
Yeah.
So he had my ultimate respect. And so it was cool. So I'm saying that as an athlete, I didn't partake in drinking and drugging anywhere through high school. I was really into my health, being healthy. I didn't think athletes got high. That's how naive I was. But I never thought that because you're supposed to be keeping your body cool. And so my sophomore year, unfortunately, I did something in retrospect that was real stupid, but I dropped a class. I was carrying 14 credits, and I dropped a 3-hour economics class because I was failing it. I could have got a B, but I didn't study. I'm in college. I'm 19, 18. I'm partying.
Yeah.
I'm playing basketball, chasing girls. Yeah. That's going to class was like, class for what?
Yeah.
Not knowing that it's going to bite you, and it bit me. So when I dropped to 11 credits, within a month and a half, I was drafted into the military.
At what age?
19.
19.
Because the draft was still going on. And because I dropped to 11 credits, I was eligible to be drafted.
Oh.
And they went by draft boards. I was draft board number 93. And if you were a felon at the time, you couldn't be drafted. And my neighborhood had a lot of felons.
Yeah.
So, they had to go down the list. And he dropped to 11 credits. Of course, we protested, we appealed, the coach and all that. It was like, you taking this man out of college? And it was real messed up. But anyway, obviously I didn't win.
Yeah.
You ain't going to beat the U.S. government. and so I went in the military with a real bad attitude because I felt it was racist. I don't even know if I used the word racist then, but it was anti-establishment kind of deal. But it was my fault. I'm the one that dropped from 14 to 11. And nobody made me do it. I did it because I figured I was going to go to summer school like I did the last year and make up.
Yeah.
But I never been able to make it to summer school because I was drafted. And I still wasn't using. Now, was I drank? Yeah, we had a drink. We drank some cheap-ass wine or some cheap 10 high bourbon or some shit. But nothing serious because, again, I'm an athlete.
Yeah.
And so I got in the military and make a long story short, by January 1968, my plane is landing at Tan Son Nhut Air Base in Saigon, Vietnam.
And you as a baby. Looking back, I think about when you're 19 years old.
Yeah.
That is... baby status.
I was 20 by then, and I was end up landing in Tan Son Nhut Air Base, Saigon, and my whole world changed. Everything changed. Number one, it was just eerie to be that far from Detroit, and they killing folk. Kill or be killed kind of deal. It was real, and it didn't take me long, probably a month, and I got introduced to some of the best weed I ever seen in my life. Thai sticks. They had Cambodian red and Thai sticks. And I could use the excuse, had I not been over there, I might not have ever got involved. But who knows? But once I picked up and had them Thai sticks and them Cambodian red, I liked it. And it took my mind off of where in the fuck I was. And it made, in my mind, it's going to make this year go fast. So I got a 12-month assignment. And it probably was 2 or 3 months in. I'm smoking weed every day. It is common sense. You smoke a weed, you get a whole sack for like $2-3. I mean, they growing the shit, right? So it wasn't about no money. And Papa San, as we called the native guy, Papa San, he said, I put fiend in here. I put fiend in. I'm like, fiend? He said, yo, you get... I said, well, shit, if I'm going to get higher, put it in there. He's like, the weed has already got me locked up.
Yeah.
But he said, we're going to put fiend. I never did understand. He was talking, they grew poppies over there.
Yeah.
Are you getting my drift?
Yeah, yeah.
So they got it gummed up, put that in the weed, and I'm rolling.
Yeah.
By the time I got to Washington, D.C., January the 8th, 1969, I was a drug addict. And I remember when I got into the airport, my mother saw me, and her words were, what have they done to my son? She could see the difference in me. And your mom don't miss shit. But the difference was I was a drug addict.
Yeah.
Okay? And, of course, the journey starts from there. Finding ways and means to get more was every day.
Yeah.
And it wasn't long after that I got introduced. I was already introduced to heroin and didn't know it because of the fiend in the weed, the morphine.
Yeah.
So, make a long story short, I was a heroin addict and didn't know it. But I knew it one day because I was sick. And I knew if I got some heroin, I felt better. And that's what I was doing all through that era. Crack and all that wasn't even on the set. It was pretty much all heroin. And I got out in August of 70, well, January of 70, and I got out early. I was supposed to get out in August, but I got out in January because my father had that sudden death. And since I was the oldest son, they let me out that day. So I got out 6 or 7 months early. Now, let's back up. Remember I told you I had a 4-year scholarship. They honored the 4 years. I had only done 2 years. But they gave me the other 2 years, everything paid for. They don't do that anymore. Now it's a year to year. You have to renew your scholarship. Back then, if they gave you 4, you had 4. So I had 2, and I came back in 2. So in 1970, I'm not quite a junior because I didn't have as many credits as I needed. But bottom line is, I went from 70 to 72, and I graduated in 72 with my first degree, a bachelor's art degree.
Yeah. I want to go back a little bit and talk about what was your experience like in Vietnam? Or is that something you prefer not to talk about?
Well, I mean, hell. It's a blur. I hated it. I hated it. But I stayed so fucked up every day. And I was taking risks. I remember leaving the base, and they told me you couldn't go downtown for something. I did something that, they disagreed with, and they made it so I couldn't go off base for a week or 2. But that, that didn't stop me. I just went around the gate because they had a gate there with the police there. So I went around the gate through the field, not knowing they had snakes in the goddamn field.
A big Vietnam snake.
No, they had some little snakes that if they bit you, you had about 6 seconds to live.
Oh, wow.
Them kind of snakes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But did it stop me? Oh, fuck. So, I'm trying to get downtown to get some drugs.
Yeah.
That was my whole...
From Papa San.
Yeah, Papa San. I was set, Papa San knew me. And So the experience was not very good. I walked around with a lot of, I guess I would say, fear.
In the mind of somebody who didn't experience that, it seems like it would be a very scary place.
It was real scary. Yeah. Look, man, when I got there and landed, they had caskets as far as you fucking could see at the airport, at the runway, loading the caskets on a C-131, which is a transport plane, back to the States. This is real deal. Yeah. As soon as you land, wait a minute, while we going, they said if you look out to your left and right, I'm still on the plane, you're being escorted by 2 F-4C fighter jets. Because we on the transport plane. You can't fight. You just get your ass killed.
Yeah.
So, they setting the tone. You're being escorted by 2 F-4C fighter jets going into land. So get your mind straight.
Yeah.
Because this is, your home for the next year. So, I got court-martialed over there for being insubordinate, because I'm talking shit.
You?
Oh, yeah, right. Because don't forget, I went in angry.
Yeah.
So I carried that anger with me all the way through. And they took my little stripe. I didn't give a damn. Just a stripe, which was money. But who cared? I was hustling enough to keep some change in my pocket, because I'd buy a bottle of Johnny Walker Red on base for $4, and I was selling it for $20 downtown. You get my drift? And I was selling a lot of liquor. Huh?
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, they gave you ration cards over there, major and minor ration cards. And on the ration cards, you could get so much liquor a month, so many cigarettes a month. And of course, I would max mine out, take them off base, and go sell the cigarettes and the liquor. So I was making more money doing that than I would have with that stripe.
Yeah.
But where I worked, my job was destroyed when people checked out or discharged out to go back to the States. They had to turn their ration cards in. You feeling me? And many of them didn't use it. You feeling me? And they gave me the responsibility to destroy them. Are you?
I'm following you.
You feeling me?
Yeah.
So I would write destroy and put the motherfucker in my pocket.
Yeah.
The ration card.
Yeah.
Their ration card in my pocket, but it said destroyed.
Yeah.
So I had a little ring going on over there with tape recorders, liquor, cigarettes, things like that, to make money to support what I was doing.
Yeah.
So when I got out and enrolled in University of Troy, I was a heroin addict. And I knew that how could I graduate from college? How could I do these 2 years in college with this habit? It had really gotten worse, of course. And they had an experimental thing. It wasn't experimental. The Nazis came up with it, Nazi doctors back in 44, 45, called methadone. You ever heard of it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And so I was one of the first GIs or first people, especially in the States. Now, I don't know when it came out, but I was one of the first almost experimental people in America. And they can talk about methadone, but it allowed me to get my bachelor's degree because I wasn't sick.
Yeah.
I had to leave campus every day and go to the methadone clinic and get methadone, drink it, and I wasn't sick anymore, and I could function for a day. Every day, that was what I did all through college. So methadone did me well because I wasn't trying to get high. I was trying to get my degree. Because now I'm older and I'm serious about college. I wasn't serious at 18, but at 23 or 22, 23, I was serious to get my degree. So
it might have been a little different scenario than like today's methadone as well too. Because I know those guys, sometimes they go to those methadone clinics and they're getting like 120, 100 plus milligrams a day to where they can't even function, you know?
Well, no, yeah. The most I got was 40.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was trying to function.
Yeah. Yeah.
And mine went all the way down to 10. Because all I was trying to do was not be sick. Mm-hmm. I wasn't trying to nod. I wasn't trying to sell none on the side, which a lot of people get it and sell. I was just trying to maintain like what it's supposed to do, methadone maintenance, maintain and get my degree. So I was down to 10 milligrams.
Yeah.
So I got out, graduated in 72 and started working in corporate America. And in the 70s, the hunt was on for what I would call integrating corporate America with African Americans. They called it affirmative action or whatever.
Yeah.
So because I could articulate and I had a degree, and I always keep that in mind, no matter how low I got on drugs, I had a degree. And I knew if I could get my shit together, I could get a job because I had a degree. And my father used to always tell me, that's one thing they can't take from you, is that piece of paper. So I valued that degree. And it paid off because down the line, when I did get clean, I could get a job because I had a degree. You know what I mean? It was just a gap in my resume. But, you know, I filled that in correctly.
Yeah. Where were you from? Oh, I was doing shit.
I told him I was self-employed. But I left Detroit after I graduated in 72. I left in 74, so that, and I moved to California. A good friend of mine lived there, and he told me, come on, stay on my couch till you get a place to stay, you know, because I didn't have a job at the time out there. But my main reason was going was not for employment. It was to get off heroin. Because in my mind, I hadn't seen NA yet. In my mind, if I moved, I wouldn't use heroin anymore.
Yeah.
That's what my mind told me. I didn't understand about making geographical location. You take you with you everywhere. I didn't get that part.
Yeah.
And sure enough, as the literature says, it didn't take me long. When I got out there, I was back using again. I never really stopped, but, you know, I really picked up because I got my plug in when I got out there. In 74, and my job, when I was a kid, my goal was, because I didn't see any growing up, I wanted to be a black man carrying a briefcase. I thought that was so goddamn important. I did, because I didn't see any.
For sure, yeah.
You know, not in the 50s. As a kid. You know, I'm growing up doing segregation. So for a black man with a briefcase, that to me, you was a real important Negro. Are you feeling me?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I got my job at Xerox. I had a business card that had Joseph R. Moore III on there, sales representative, Xerox, Fortune 100 company. You know, I mean, I am the shit. And you know I wouldn't got a fucking briefcase.
Put everything in there. Yeah. Put everything in there.
And then I had got my first three-piece suit. I didn't own any suits. But this is in the 70s where at Xerox and IBM, you were expected to wear a suit and tie, preferably a white shirt. preferably a dark color suit.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody had to tell me. I could see, damn, blue, black, everybody got suits, white shirts. Fuck, let me go get.
Yeah.
And my first couple of paycheck, I started getting my war. I had a three-piece suit, and I'm feeling, I have arrived. Had my briefcase, but what was working against me, that addiction kept getting worse and worse. So I had arrived professionally, but that addiction kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I couldn't concentrate on my job for finding ways and means to get more. And this went on over 20 years. Finding ways and means to get more.
Yeah.
Over 20 years. Close to 25. I worked at Xerox. Then I got a job at Johnson & Johnson, one of the top medical companies in the world. So I could always get a good job. Why? Because I had a degree and I could articulate. And I knew what the white man, corporate America, wanted to hear. And I could tell it to them real good.
Yeah.
They'd be sitting back like, we got our black man here. I was like, yeah, you got me. So I knew the game.
Yeah.
I knew the game. I knew what to say. I knew how to dress. I knew how to articulate. But I had that degree. Because if I didn't have that, I couldn't get in the door. That got me in the door. But again, my disease kept I didn't know it was a disease at the time. All I know is it was getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Late 70s, I went from heroin to cocaine. That changed everything. Because it wasn't long after that, we was cooking shit up. Cooking the cocaine up. And kept going down. Kept going down. Kept going down. I went from a great apartment, nice car, clothes, a lesser apartment, living in the hood. I went from a great apartment to living in the hood. Are you with me?
Yeah.
I didn't understand. I didn't know I had a disease at the time. But I was going down. My look started to change. It was bad. It was bad. Started taking more risk, finding ways and means to get more. Most of us take risk. And I was real blessed. I threw rocks at the penitentiary, but I never saw it.
Yeah.
Okay? And that was just a blessing there because I certainly did shit to be locked up. Are you with me? So when I hear people say I didn't do that, well, we always say not yet.
Yeah.
But some of us just bypassed us.
Got lucky. Or blessed.
I'd say blessed.
Yeah.
And at the end, by 89, I was back in Milwaukee. Look, man, I went from Detroit to Los Angeles to Houston to Milwaukee to San Diego, Detroit, and back to Milwaukee, running from me. Are you with me?
Mm-hmm.
I ran all them cities. I did geographical with my main focus on not using. None of them had nothing to do with a career, a job. I ended up back in Milwaukee in '89. And because I had the degree, they said, we need some teachers. I said, shit. But it was a job.
Yeah.
And because I had that degree, then you could take class over here to get your certification. I started teaching middle school. Woo! They took me for a ride.
Oh yeah. I was rough in middle school.
And I'm in the hood. They ain't no joke.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah.
And but that's where I started being an educator in '89. In '90, they hired me full time at a high school teaching special ed. I had all the kids that were labeled emotionally disturbed. They could have put me in that same category. I was probably worse than them. Still don't know nothing about a disease. But I'm juggling trying to work and maintain my drug habit. Eventually, didn't take long, I wound up in the winter by November of '93, no heat in my apartment. I'm talking Milwaukee. It's cold in November. No, you got to have your heat on.
Yeah.
And I remember distinctly, just got my check, and I went to the gas company to pay my bill so I could get my heat on. And I got out in front of it, the place. I had that money. It was burning a hole in my pants. Heat, 8-ball. Heat, 8-ball. Fuck the heat.
I'm laughing because I identify.
Yeah. Many of us did. Fuck the heat. Went and got 8-ball. Went home shivering in the cold, using.
Degradation.
November, December, January. By mid-January of '94, I didn't know about I was diagnosed with walking pneumonia. My blood pressure 80/40. And you're a nurse, you know 80/40 ain't good.
Yeah.
I was real sick. Well, hell, it was 30 below by then. 30 below in your apartment without no fucking heat.
Yeah.
I end up January the 23rd. The night before, saw myself in the mirror and I hated me. I mean, I finally got to the point I couldn't stand what I saw. My mother and father had died. They never saw me clean. They had already died. And I said, man, all that work they did, look at me. I mean, I couldn't stand Joe no more. I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. I was angry. I was at the end of the road.
Yeah.
We talk about that in our literature.
Yeah.
I was there. And basically, I had 2 exits. It was 1 exit left. Treatment up to the bitter end. right?
Mm-hmm.
Chose treatment. Because I found out that if I went, because I was a veteran, I never knew that, they pay for everything.
Yeah.
That's no shit.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I go to the VA January the 23rd, 1994. That's my last day using was the 22nd. I went in there at the VA. I wasn't trying to not use forever.
Yeah.
Don't think I went in like, hell, I can just not use forever. Yeah. No, I was trying not to use for this stretch here.
Yeah, trying to get my shit together.
Yeah, get my shit together. Yeah. Trying to get my shit together. And before they even put me in rehab, I was so sick they had to do whatever in the medical thing before I actually went to detox. And after I detoxed, every Monday night, they had a guy from AA come and speak. On Tuesday, somebody from NA would come with the readings and cookies and donuts and shit, and would have like a meeting. It really wasn't a meeting because he was running everything, but that's what the VA allowed NA to come because the treatment center was AA. I'm talking the 90s. It wasn't hardly no NA meetings in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
It was mostly all AA. But I picked that literature up. And when I read Who's an Addict, I said, these motherfuckers nailed it. I mean, they nailed it. Yeah. And then I read Why Are We Here? They had my attention because who could write some shit like this and know exactly what I went through or going through but another person like me? I mean, that sold me.
Yeah. Who's an Addict?
They told me who I was. And while I was there, everything they put use ahead of your family, all the shit that it said. So AA, I didn't even want to see AA. I'm not talking about AA. I'm just saying the NA literature is what grasped me. It sold me. It made me want to stay another day. Made me want to stay just another day. And every Tuesday, I look forward to the NA guy, which ended up being a good friend of mine. He's got 30-something years now. Would come up there. I ended up doing that same job a year later, coming back to the VA, bringing that meeting there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I got introduced to Narcotics Anonymous. And it took me, I tell everybody, probably about 8 months before I truly surrendered. The first 7 months, I wasn't using, but I still, in my heart, I couldn't get my heart to say never.
Yeah.
I hadn't grasped the day at a time, even though we say just don't use today. The whole part of never, not altering my mood ever, it didn't grasp me yet.
No, I completely identify with that. And I remember early on, I just could not grasp it. And I was like, I'm just going to plan for a year. Even though I'm like listening to what they're saying in meetings, but I'm like, I'm just going to just work on a year.
Yeah.
Because a year was obtainable.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But the rest of my life.
No.
Too much.
No, too much.
Yeah.
Too much. But yeah. It took me years to reconcile being drafted, being in the military, going overseas. But what I didn't do, and when I got in treatment, they said, well, you're going to file a claim. I said, claim for what? My leg, everything cool. I'm working. I'm all right.
Mm-hmm.
They said, well, you ain't going to file a claim for them for being a drug addict? I said, file a claim for being a drug addict? You can do that? And my friends in treatment didn't understand why I didn't do it. I said, I'd be starting off on the wrong foot because I accept responsibility for that. I'm talking about me. I ain't talking about nobody else who got 10% and all that shit. Mm-hmm. I'm saying for me to go and blame the VA, the veterans, for my drug habit, it would fuck my whole program up. Because I'm supposed to take responsibility for my action. They didn't make me do it. There's plenty of people who went to Vietnam didn't use. A lot of us did. A lot of vets came back fucked up. But not everybody. Right? Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't do it. Still didn't. I didn't file no claim for being a drug addict to get some money every month. I couldn't bring myself to that. That's me. Yeah. I'm not saying, I'm not judging anybody that did it. That was my own personal reason. And plus I had my degree to fall back on.
Yeah.
And now I got a degree with a clear mind. Before I had a degree, but my mind wasn't clear. And so I saw possibilities. I saw things that I could do that was there for me before, but I couldn't sustain it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And by the time I had 7 years clean, I had a Master of Science degree in Cultural Foundations of Education. So, all A's. I had a 4.0. So school was not hard, but my mind was clear now. I had direction, I had purpose. And I said, that's going to add to your story of carrying the message to the still suffering addict.
For sure.
When you can talk about them steps and work the steps and be able to convey how you work those steps, and from that, it kind of motivated you to do something else, because my mind was clear. And I used to sit on the side of the bed, Brian. I never forget this. It'll always be a Sunday. Drugs ran out. And I would say, I wonder what life would be like if you wasn't using. I just wondered.
Yeah.
Because for 25 years, that's all I did. I wonder what life would be like if you accomplish this with your addiction. What could you accomplish if you wasn't chasing drugs? I said, I probably never find out. And I put that on the pipe too. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Put it on the pipe.
Yeah.
Because it was just a fleeting thing, but I didn't see a way out. Are you feeling me on that? I didn't see my way out of anything. But I always wondered. Like I would see the guy with his wife and kids and had a home, and I said, square motherfuckers. And I'm sitting up there with no fucking heat in my apartment. Huh?
Casting judgment.
Yeah. And here I am years later, that same square motherfucker that I talked about, homeowner, you know what I'm saying? Family, wife, the whole stuff. But it's so recovery has been great for me for 29 years. And I think one of the things that I told my wife, when I go, make sure you put in whatever. He died clean. So for me having cancer, for me having a aortic aneurysm, for me having 2 bad hip replacements. Are you with me?
Mm-hmm.
I never thought about using. Now, early on, those were some of my reservations. If they told me I had cancer, fuck it, I'm using.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to die anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm out, so that was year 1. Year 28 or 22 or 20, that wasn't, I never thought about it. I was proud to say I went through some shit because I could share that. I could share going through cancer, prostate cancer, but not using. Yeah. That became my mantra, to go through shit, share it, but not use. Trying to carry this message to still suffering addict, that no matter what, and my no matter what, I was living it every day. You talk about cancer, and you talk about this, and you talk about that. COPD. I got a lot of shit that's medically I'm dealing with. But I've maintained my clean date.
Yeah.
And that became the most important thing to me, and still is to this day, to maintain. Staying clean must come first.
Yeah.
I learned that early, and it sure is true, because if you put some ahead of it, bad things could happen.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that it's something I've come to realize over, because, I'm at 15 now, and something I've come to realize over the last few years, and I think it's not talked about a lot in recovery, is that the purpose that being in recovery brings to your life. That ability to care. We know what we're doing. We've been around long enough. You see people come in busted and dusted, right?
Right.
And then they get their life together.
Right.
They go back to school.
Yeah.
They get all these wonderful things happen in their lives, and you're like, man, I played a part in that. You know?
Yeah.
And like, there is, out of all the things I do, like my job, my family, I love my family. Like, I feel like this is like brings great purpose to my life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as you found out, as we all find out, having purpose is what life is all about. Because if you don't have a purpose, you kind of wander. But when you wake up every day, I got a purpose, carry the message, still suffering addict. One of the things that I love is our message, what we say. This is the message of Narcotics Anonymous about, and any addict can stop using drugs. But what got me was that second part, lose the desire to use. I had stopped using a whole lot of times.
Yeah.
But I never lost the desire, which put me back on there. So when you say, any addict can stop using drugs, but it's that second part, lose the desire. And you have to do work for that desire to go away. Being abstinent and you don't do any work and you being abstinent, there's a good chance you're going to go back. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Because you didn't do the work. Having these resentments or jealousies or shame and guilt. One of the things that I did when I had not even 2 years clean, probably about a year and a half, I went back to the high school where I left in disgrace. I was a basketball coach too. All my players knew I was a drug addict. Half the teachers knew I was a drug addict because I got money from half of them. You know what I'm saying? And to go back and do amends to the principal, to the assistant principal. I met with my basketball team who were now seniors. I went and met with them, apologized and all that. And, Coach, man, we knew you was fucked up, but we love you, man. They knew I was me. Who was I fooling?
Yeah.
But it took so much. The first time I went up to the school to do that step, I kept going. And I recognized it was courage, man. I didn't have courage. I didn't have the courage to go up in there because I got to face this shit. But I got to the point in my recovery where I didn't want to be in the supermarket ducking and dodging. Like I see Brian, oh shit, there that motherfucker is. No, I needed to be free. I had an opportunity to get free. And that second time I went right up in the principal's office, and he hugged me, and I said, Mr. Jude, I just want to make amends. I apologize. You know, I got this disease called addiction, and I apologize. He said, man, you good. He was a Christian man, so it was good with him.
Yeah.
Then I went to the assistant principal. Then I went and met with my players. I walked out of that school. What a load off me. Because I was carrying that with me. Are you with me? I was carrying that with me. In 95, I had about a year and a half clean by then. Summer 95. And I wanted to go, I was starting to go into these schools and speak to the youth. But I still smoke cigarettes. And they can say what they want to, but I found out that cigarettes started me being a liar, because you start lying if your parents or somebody see you with a cigarette. You know what I mean? You start lying. No, I wasn't smoking. Are you with me? But I wanted to be able to tell the kids, the youth, that I wasn't smoking anymore. But I couldn't tell them because I still was. That was part of my motivation. In April of 95, I took that package of Cool Lights, whatever the fuck, and I put them in my drawer. I didn't throw them away. So I wasn't completely good. But I kept them in there just in case, because by then they was $5 a pack. They might be 20. I don't know what they are now.
Yeah.
But when I was able to, and I had surrendered to nicotine, I ain't had no nicotine since April of 95. To be able to go back in them schools and be nicotine free also, to be able to talk about that to the youth, to the community. So when I got the job, watch this. 98, I had 5 years clean by then, not even 5, a little bit under 5. I got a call from Milwaukee Area Technical College. They said, how would you like to interview to be a professor? I said, what? Because I was just over there about a month before speaking to probably about 100 people in the human services field. They were going to be CNAs or work in halfway houses or drug treatment programs. Are you with me? And they asked me to come and speak, because by now I'm speaking all over the community, so people knew that, I was a speaker. And I came over there and talked to the potential graduates about what it was going to be like working in the field and things you needed to clean up, like clean urine, shit like that. You know, if you talking about getting a job, you can't, and things like that. I got a call about a month later, said, we have an opening. Would you like to interview? I said, well, hell yeah. I mean, so the thought of me interviewing at a college after the shit that happened to me in high school, for, I couldn't even believe this was happening. You talking about lost dreams awakened, one promised many gifts kind of deal. I didn't go in with a lot of confidence, but I said, I got in the car and I did my prayer, suited up, booted up, prayed up, and showed up. Went in there, had the interview. It was 7 motherfuckers around the table, white folks, 7. I'm like, what the fuck should I get myself in? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I talk shit.
Yeah.
And I had experience in the field. I was working at a halfway house then. So, I mean, I held my own. They called me the next day. Said, we're sorry, thanks for interviewing, but, we went with somebody else. I said, but I had a job, so it didn't bother me. I said, okay, cool. They told me you were our third choice. I said, well, they interviewed 6, 7 people. I was at that. I said, that ain't bad, third choice, yeah. Even I don't count that as a victory, because either you get it or you don't.
Yeah.
But anyway, third time. The first guy had a quadruple bypass a week later. He couldn't work. So he was out there running. I don't know all this is going on. The second guy, at the last minute, he said his wife, he changed his mind. He wanted to stay where he's at. They called me 2 weeks before school started and said, do you still want the job? I said, well, I want to say, what the fuck happened? But I didn't. I said, well, yeah. Well, can you come up here and sign the paper? I said, I'll be right there. So I tell my boss where I'm working. I said, look, I'll be right back. I didn't quit.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to make sure this shit was right. I didn't know if somebody was ghosting me or what, you know. So I went up there, met with the dean and Vicula. She's a Filipino lady. She was the dean, Dr. Vicula. And she said, well, Joe, Mr. Moore, I really want to give you this job because they said how good you did on the interview, and there's not too many African Americans that work here. I said, yeah, everybody in the community know that. We all talk about MATC, got all these black students, ain't hardly got no black teachers. She said, I'm glad you said that you know that. But you know how important it is that you have to represent MATC in the community. Because when they see, they probably don't tell that to white folk, but they telling me that because you're a black man, basically, we need you to be a pillar of the community, basically, because you represent the college in the community, a black man. Well, they didn't know shit that what I was doing.
Yeah.
I couldn't have said that 8 years ago, but and they hired me. They said, these are your classes. I didn't even know what gerontology was. They said, well, here's the classes, they're the books. And shit. I said, well, goddamn. So I'm reading and studying and shit, trying to stay a week ahead of the students. Now, some classes I taught group work skills, community organizing. I knew that, so that wasn't the problem. But that was in August of '98. I had less than 5 years clean. And a lot of students coming was from recovery. Because now they getting their shit together going back to school. And they look up there and Joel, what's up? Sit down. Sit your ass down. They want to come and do the NA hugs.
I'm the teacher here.
But changed my whole life. Because what it did, it doubled my salary. And when you go to another income bracket, it kind of changes your life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now I was able to buy a home. One of my other greatest achievements, I think, when I got into recovery, I owed the feds $25,000 tax shit because I was doing some tricky shit, finding ways and means to get more.
Yeah.
You do all type of paperwork. I wasn't doing no gun shit, but I was a whiz with that pen. So within 4 years, I paid them off. Got free. My credit score went from a 480 to a 750 just because I paid them, because it was fucked my credit up in order to buy a house. So that made me feel good to be able to pay the federal government back $24,800 in about 4 years because I was saving and did some other real estate shit. But the bottom line, now my credit score is up. And once my credit score got up, that opened up a whole world for me because I had neglected it my whole life. And I'm in my 50s now at that time. You know what I'm saying? So I felt a sense of accomplishment. And I owe it all to Narcotics Anonymous. The whole literature, the whole steps, the whole program changed my life. And for a good period of time, everybody who I knew, who I associated with, were in recovery. That world out there didn't even exist anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. New people, places, and things.
Yeah. Didn't even. The bars, the clubs, all that kind of stuff. And I got blessed with a lovely wife. We'll be married 22 years next month.
Wow.
Yeah. 22.
It goes quick, huh?
22. Yeah. So, I don't know. Kind of where I'm at today.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing your. I've been super excited to get over here for the last couple of weeks.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, last week, I got a little bit of a cold. So,
yeah, I know.
Held us up, but thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking your time. It was a pleasure sitting down with you and listening to you carry the message and share your story.
I enjoyed it. Thank you very much for asking me.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay. All right. Thank you.